to have really not even had a full year under my belt by the time I had that bone density scan, and to still see some positive change was really exciting. So I skipped out of the imaging center.
Janina, how did you find carnivore?
I found carnivore in a very roundabout way. Actually, my husband had seen a YouTube channel 3 or 4 years ago called Sow the Land. And Jason, the host of that channel, had cancer, I think back in 2016 or so. And he was eating a carnivore diet. I didn't watch the video. My husband told me about it. He said, "Hey, you have to watch this video. This guy only eats meat." Like, he only eats meat? Like, who does that? Because I am, or was, a self-proclaimed carbitarian. And so I watched the channel and I thought, he's eating steak for breakfast. I can't eat. I love Captain Crunch and donuts, and you will find me in the line at Krispy Kreme or Dunkin' Donuts or wherever. So I watched it really with awe or amazement, or how is this sustainable? And it wasn't really like about the food pyramid or really making an assessment about his not having vegetables or fruit. It was, how do you not have carbs in the form of breads and cereal and sugar and things like that? So that's really how I even heard the term carnivore. And I didn't give it two thoughts. I asked him if he thought he was going to try it, my husband, and he said, "Oh, maybe, but he did for a little bit, not straight up that he was going to do it, but he wanted to try some of the aspects of just increasing his protein and everything. And then that kind of went by the wayside. Fast forward to 2022, and I had my very first bone density DEXA scan and got diagnosed with osteoporosis in my lumbar spine. My doctor said, "Okay, well, the good news is it's only in your lumbar spine. So we're going to put you on this medication called raloxifene. And that is actually an estrogen modulator. And they give it to women with breast cancer." I was like, she gave me the prescription, and I'm walking to my car going, there's no way I'm going to take a breast cancer drug for forever. And I was telling my husband about it, and he's like, this just doesn't even make any sense. How is a medication that you take orally only going to affect the bone density in your lumbar spine? That just doesn't make any sense. And the more I was researching the medications for improving bone density, there's just nothing that's great. And I am a terrible prescription taker. I don't like taking any kind of pills, really. So I filled the prescription because I was trying to be a good patient, but I never actually unstapled the bag from the pharmacy. And I said, okay, I'm going to just do my own research. And I was just consuming information. And lo and behold, I kept being taken back to a high protein diet, and that would be something that was beneficial for stopping bone loss and trying to improve bone density. So the funniest thing is after I indulged in just information overload, I told my husband, I said, "You're never going to believe this, but I'm supposed to be doing the carnivore diet." And it was just funny to wait years to have this conversation, the thing that he had just happened to mention from that one video years ago. And then here we are. And he's like, "Are you going to do it?" And I said, "I don't know how I'm going to do it, but we're going to give it a good shot at it." So that's I really didn't go looking for it. It found me in the most roundabout way.
What has happened? Well, actually, sorry, first, what's the timeline around this?
So so the day that I actually started what I would call ketovore/carnivore was March 3rd, 2023. It took me a couple of months if I was going to do this, I had to be sure I was ready, and that there's a statement that says, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not a good enough why. And so the thought about what happens if I end up with a spine fracture from osteoporosis, or a hip fracture, or any of these things, that's my why. I don't want to have those things, and I need to work on solving my own problems without pharmaceutical drugs. So I had to get that kind of clear in my head. And then the next thing was, how do I prepare to completely overhaul a diet that was so high in carbs and emotionally be okay with that? So it took me a little bit. And then in the meantime, I started taking AlgaCal, which is like a calcium supplement program that has had research behind it that says, that your bone density scan after 6 months of taking that should show some improvement. So I did do that program for 6 months while I was leading up to studying for basically the carnivore switch over and everything. So what I did not do was say, okay, on this particular day, I'm going to start. What I did was I prepared the pantry, prepared my refrigerator. I ordered a half a side of beef and pork from my farmer down the road and bought a freezer because I didn't want to have any excuses as to why I didn't have something to eat in the refrigerator or ready to go. And so once I had that ready, I just said, okay, tomorrow's the day. Like that was it. I just said I didn't want to have a lead up to so that I could kick the can down the road any further. I just had to get ready and then just do it. So that was kind of the lead up. And then once I started, I didn't do, the one thing with the osteoporosis is you can't have high oxalate foods because that blocks the absorption of calcium. And so the one thing that did make me successful in sticking to this, though, was saying, okay, I need to get vitamin C from some berries. So I would have berries, blueberries and blackberries and strawberries, and then green beans. And for a little bit, I was doing broccoli, but I was glad to get rid of that. But in the whole time, I had this glorious raised bed garden going on in my backyard and all these different things. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these peppers and tomatoes and cantaloupe and pumpkin and all this kind of stuff? So I have to rethink my garden plans. But it really was a slow lead up, but it was all I believe it was well thought out so that it would be successful instead of just jumping into it and then having to keep restarting, I guess. I didn't want to set myself up for failure.
So from March 3rd, I mean, that's coming up in a year now.
Yep.
What has changed for you in that year?
Oh my gosh. Well, nobody in their right mind is excited to get a bone density scan, but I could not wait to get mine because a lot of people who are doing carnivore or ketovore are looking at outward. Usually it's outward things or something that's quantifiable to, okay, I've lost weight or this symptom or that symptom has gone away or inflammation. When you're dealing with bone density, you don't really have an opportunity to know if that's getting better or not. So on the outward side, I've lost 36 pounds, which was shocking that it just came off really quickly, actually. I had arthritis in one finger and my shoulder, and that pain has gone away. I did have a shoulder injury in November of 2022 and ended up having an MRI in May, just a couple months after I started this way of eating and everything. They did tell me it was going to take a whole year probably for that to heal. So while it's not 100%, it is 95% better. And I attribute it to time, but also just the lack of inflammation that was going on in my body, since that was the same shoulder that had the arthritis in it. And then I believe, not diagnosed, but I believe I have a neuroma on the bottom of my foot. And that goes crazy if I have too many berries or, anything that is not actually animal products at this point. So I'm noticing I just feel great. I mean, not expected. These are all things that I just did not expect to have happen. So it's been easy to keep going. I guess that's the reward is how good I feel and not it is hard to socialize with people when you have to have these different ways of eating and everything, but I wouldn't go back. So I had I did have the bone
Oh,
density scan at the end of November. You would have thought like I was waiting to see lottery numbers or something, but I ended up having a slight increase, better increase in my lumbar spine bone density, so inching more towards osteopenic. It was not statistically significant, as the doctor would say, but when you look at the graph, it moved, and I'm happy with that. And then my hips, my hips did not change whatsoever. But while that might not be exciting for some people, the fact that I didn't have additional bone loss or further osteoporosis in my hips from the last time was a super exciting number for me. I was okay with that. The other problem is it takes a long time for bone growth and to happen and to stop the destruction of trabecular bone also. So these are very slow processes. So I was not sure what those results were going to look like in really a short time. So if you look that I started taking the calcium supplement in December of 2022, stopped after 6 months, and I switched my whole supplement protocol now. So I am still taking supplements, just not the AlgaCal. But to have really not even had a full year under my belt by the time I had that bone density scan and to still see some positive change was really exciting. So I skipped out of the imaging center.
nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. And yeah, like you say, the doctor says it's not statistically significant, but any positive change is a good change, right?
Absolutely, and no further bone loss. So
Mm,
saving that was good too.
yeah. So a lot of good changes, and that's in less than a year.
Yes.
Um, you did mention that it's a little bit difficult socializing. So how has
Yes.
that gone for you over the year? Is that getting better, or what are the difficulties you're experiencing?
So I went to Las Vegas, and my best friend thankfully lives there. And I said, "Hey, if we're going to go out to eat, can you give me the restaurants that you're looking at ahead of time so I can check the menu to see what I wanted to see was, is there anything I'm going to be able to eat there? Where would be a place where I could say, okay, give me this substitution or that substitution." And so that worked out really well, actually. Um, then I was in Hawaii. That was a little bit harder. There's a lot of rice and different kinds of potato type things there. But we stayed in an Airbnb. And so that did help quite a bit. And then when we went to the restaurants, I just didn't eat the sides, basically. Um, when I go to visit my friends, I'll say, don't worry about it. I'll eat either before I go there or I'll pick up something along the way. But my mom just cracks me up because she's like, you are way too hard to deal with. So you just tell me where we can go and I'll take you there. So it's funny that my own mom is the one that has the hardest time trying to figure it out. She's like, this is just too complicated for me. So yeah, I think I've just tried to make it as easy as I can. Like, hey, I'll look if you give me an idea of where we can go or what's around, or I'll look ahead of time. So I feel like I've had to do a lot of, research, recon and research ahead of time and everything. But I try to make it easy on other people. And then after that, it's just, I just avoid certain situations. And like for the holidays, we did it at our house, and that way there was other people can eat what they want to eat, and I can eat what I wanted to eat, and it didn't feel like I put anybody out.
It's not so much a cravings thing or anything like that. It's just, it's just added processes or complications.
For everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, your mum thinks this is way too complicated, but how
She
has
does.
everyone else reacted to it?
So my husband has been phenomenal. He is not doing carnivore. However, he is totally cool with eating steak and everything. Now we don't just do BB&E. So I eat any, meat or seafood. Um, he's been great, and he used to be a chef. So he will make me whatever I want, or try to be creative. But one thing that I have really steered away from has been like replacement ideas. Like I'm not trying to make a carnivore pizza crust or carnivore noodles. I don't want to try to replicate something from my past life. I'm just trying to enjoy the simplicity of eating steak or chicken or pork or whatever now, without trying to get all fancy into all those other things. And so I am enjoying that part. So he has been great about it. My daughter, who really should be eating this way because she has epilepsy and really would benefit from a strict keto diet, really, she's like, it's just so weird that you just eat meat. And I said, listen, you should be trying it, or at least more protein or whatever. So, my immediate family at home is good. So I don't have any issues. And really the only trouble I've had as far as cravings or whatever is my husband made some, I don't know, some kind of chocolate chip cookies, and just the smell. And I thought it's been at that time, 10 months that he made that. And the smell still got my mouth watering, and still, it triggers that. I mean, really, carb addiction is a real thing. And so I just smelled them. And then he made toast the other day on sourdough bread. And I'm like, with peanut butter. And I like, can I just smell it? I just want to smell it. And the craziest thing is that was good enough. I just needed to smell it, and I moved on, and I didn't think about it. And so I don't feel like I'm being sabotaged, because I don't want him to change the way if he wants to change the way he wants to eat, that's up to him. But I don't feel like I'm being sabotaged, and he should be able to make those things. And I don't feel like it was malicious in any way. He just had a hankering for cookies, and that's totally fine. I'm good with that. So, and they had pie at Christmas and Thanksgiving and things like that, and it's fine. It is funny though, just some of the smells, how that still brings back a lot of good, feel good memories, I guess, but not good enough to cheat.
Yeah, it's quite, there's always something that's going to trigger you to have a feeling like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
So maybe this is a strange question, but when you the sourdough bread with the peanut butter, when you were like, can I just smell that? When you smelt that, was it like, what kind of feeling did you have? Was it a feeling of, wish I could be eating this? Or was it, oh yeah, I that's interesting, but yeah, I'm good? Or
it was like, oh my gosh, that smells so good. But then I walked away, and I'm like, that's good. I mean, the first step is admitting you have a problem, right? So it did smell really good. But I will say, I've just had to decide that this is the way things are going to be, because I have a bigger goal. And so no toast with peanut butter or chocolate chip cookie is worth derailing my goal, because I don't want to be eating toast with peanut butter or chocolate chip cookies in a hospital bed if I get a compression fracture in my spine, or if I get a broken hip or something like that. So yeah, it smelled really good, but it was not worth any cheating.
So how are you eating day to day?
So I don't practice like OMAD or any of the fasting schedules or anything. And the reason why is because for bone health, you really need a lot of protein, about 30 grams per meal. And so there's just no way for me to get 120 grams in per day just doing one meal. So I kind of practice like the Dr. Berry schedule: eat when you're hungry, and eat till you're full, kind of thing. So I have some kind of protein heavy I always eat breakfast, and I still drink coffee. So I haven't given that up. You guys are amazing that I can do it. I tried to even go to half calf. I couldn't do it. I'm gonna have to work on that over a much longer period of time. And then I will have like a late afternoon smaller meal, and then I would say 75% of the time I do have dinner. So I'm usually eating 3 meals a day, trying to get all the protein in that I can. And if I don't feel hungry for like a meal, I do use protein powders that don't have sweetener or use a stevia. So I don't have like a same, like I'm not, oh, it's always bacon and eggs for breakfast. It's not the same every day. Sometimes it's leftover. Like the other day I had ground beef and mozzarella cheese and some pepperoni. So almost a pizza. So it just really changes. And sometimes I'll have leftover steak from dinner the night before, which I just thought that was the weirdest thing ever. But while I'm actually eating it, I'm like, wow, this is really a great breakfast. So, but that's kind of my routine.
Nice. So you mentioned that your husband used to be a chef, and
Yeah.
sometimes he cooks for you.
Oh, he cooks all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you kind of you would prefer to eat a steak cooked by him, or do you like your style of preparation?
So he is great on the grill. So if we're doing anything on the grill, that's him. He's great at making shrimp. I'm not so good at shrimp. I'm okay with ground beef and rotisserie chicken. If it can be made in the air fryer or pan fried, I'm good. But he is definitely the grill master. So it really just depends on how we're preparing it. But his one ingredient is love, and it always comes through with the best spice.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Just when you mentioned it before, I'm just like, that would be so nice having someone who's a chef in the house preparing a steak for you. It
Oh
kind
my
of,
gosh, it's perfect. Yeah.
yeah, it's I don't know. It reminds me of this is a bit of a weird connection, but it reminds me of when I was a smoker. You know, when OPs always taste better than your own cigarettes. Now, do you know what OPs are?
Yeah.
Other people's.
Well,
You
other
know,
people's.
it's other people's cigarettes always taste better than, so anything you get from someone else always has this little bit of love or a little
Yes,
bit of something that makes it better.
totally. And the same thing with salad. Like I used to be a big salad eater, and I make a salad, it never has the right ratio of things on it. But if you get it at the restaurant, or if my husband made it, it's always like there's this like perfect balance of stuff on the salad. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, there is something with that.
What part of the US are you in?
I'm in Mississippi now. We've only lived here for a year and a half, so deep south,
Mm.
and not really an easy place to be carnivore because cornbread, carbs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just historically, it's a very carb heavy, fried chicken, that kind of thing. But carnivore kip is not too far from me, so I said, okay, I'll do a 5K with you this year. So I'm
Oh, nice.
hoping, to try to like expand some of my carnivore community a little bit down on this end of the country here.
Nice. And how is the attitude towards meat eating down in Mississippi?
Good. I mean, I've been really fortunate. I mean, I'm in a town that's about 40,000 or 45,000 people, but I have had no problem getting local meat. Like I said, we did the half a cow and half a pig, and I just switched to a different farmer to get another half a cow. So that should be the first week of February. And the fact that I can get local eggs, would I love to have chickens in my backyard? Yes, but my HOA says no. But I love the fact that I've been able to get local meat um, and eggs really very easily. We have a great farmers market. And so I haven't really had any issues. And then even when I really don't much eat at restaurants. In fact, even for my birthday, I would rather eat at home. And so what I have found though is when I go to a restaurant, they have been very accommodating to leave off the sides or not bring the bread or whatever. So I haven't run into any issues where people are taken aback, really. They're like, okay, no problem. So there must be enough low carb people around that this was not surprising.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So where does this go for you now? What does the future hold for Janina?
Oh my gosh. Well, I still am working on my osteoporosis protocol. So I need to have some blood work done with like hormone levels, and there's kind of still a deeper protocol, I guess I would say, to bone health naturally. So I've got to do that. And then also, right now I walk between 1.5 and 2.5 miles a day, but I really need to change my exercise program to include some heavy weights and things like that. So I still need to go further into this. I feel like starting the carnivore or ketovore diet was really just the tip of the iceberg. There is more that needs to be done, but overall, I am so impressed with just my overall feeling of wellness, and I just feel so good. There is no way I would ever be willing to go back, as much as that it's an easier, less resistant path, I guess, to just eat the standard American diet. But I would just never feel as good as I do now. So in the weirdest way, as much as I hate the fact that I have osteoporosis at all, I wish I didn't have it. It forced me to be in a better way of eating, and this whole proper human diet thing. And it's like, wow, that really means something. I mean, that's true. And for people who are eating carnivore that don't have osteoporosis, this is a bonus for you. You're going to be able to save your bones and hopefully head it off at the pass before it happens to you. So I just can't think of there's not one thing that I can think of that would make me go back to my Captain Crunch way of eating, Captain Crunch for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's where I just see a future. This is it. I'm going to have to figure out how to continue down this path. And then really some of the things that I want to do is, as much as I need some of the berries for the vitamin C, you really need some of these things naturally rather than just through supplements. I'm going to have to cycle those because I do feel different. I sense the pain in my finger and my shoulder come back when I have those things. So I'm probably going to have to learn a different approach. So it wouldn't be something I would eat every week, maybe, once a month or so. I don't know. I'm going to have to do a little bit more, I guess, playing around with when I can add those other things in to my diet.
So for someone watching now, they're probably that hasn't ever tried carnivore or ketovore before. They might be thinking, this is crazy. How can you eat when you're hungry? I'm always hungry. I would be eating all the time. That would be like 100 bowls of Captain Crunch for me in the first 6 hours of the day. Like, how can you explain the difference between the way you feel now and the way you felt when you were kind of on the Captain Crunch
Captain Crunch diet,
if you want
to? Well, I would get up in the morning and I would have cereal or sugary something or another, donuts, and within 2 hours, I would get like this burning pain in my stomach. Like I was hungry again. It was not really like a nauseous feeling, but not a happy tummy feeling. And so then I would have to find something else. So then that might have been like a fruit and nut bar. And then by the time lunch came around, I'd be ravenous. And so then I would have whatever sounded good for lunch. And then as soon as I got home from work, I would be either helping make dinner or making dinner, but I had to have a snack because I would get that burning feeling in my stomach. And so I was concerned, like, okay, I get full pretty quickly from eating steak or chicken or whatever. And I thought, what am I going to do when I get that burning feeling? Am I just going to be eating more meat? Because, basically Dr. Berry says you probably shouldn't be snacking or just get bacon or something. And so, I think you would be surprised. So what I would tell somebody is you will be surprised at actually how full you feel for so much longer or satisfied. And I don't get that burning feeling in my stomach anymore. I mean, that's completely gone. So I don't know what actually was causing that, but I'm pleased that that's a thing of the past now.
Wow, very well said. And so, Janina, do you have Facebook or an Instagram or anything if people want to reach out to you?
I am on Facebook. I can give you that so you can put it in the notes, but I'm not on Instagram or YouTube.
No worries. Well, Janina, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.